All right, everybody, we're going to get into the differences between Gmail and Microsoft Outlook Webmail and how, if you're transitioning between one to the other, how categories and folders work. And they are quite different in their approach and how you assign them and how you manage them. So let's get into it. All right, so let's get into it. But before we do, let's just cover one topic. Why did we decide to compare the Outlook Webmail versus Gmail, Kaleigh?
So that is a great question. Gmail actually does not have a desktop application. It is purely webmail and web-based. So with that being said, we decided to compare it to the Outlook webmail version rather than the desktop application because we didn't really feel like that was fair on Gmail. And also, if you guys are interested in looking at the desktop application version of Outlook, we do have a video comparing the two, webmail versus desktop application, and I can link that video above.
And spoiler alert, we tend to prefer the web version anyway, right?
Yeah, that is very true. And I feel like, comparing the desktop application to the Gmail app is like apples and oranges. They're like
Right.
completely different, and they shouldn't even be in the same category, really.
Right. Okay, Kaleigh. So next we're going to talk about labels and folders. And notice that I use that terminology very specifically. That's because the approach that Gmail and Outlook Webmail are very different. And this is where you'll find people get really confused if they're trying to hop between one or the other.
Let me share my screen and show you what labels are and how you can create these in Gmail. So here I've already created 3 labels inside my Gmail. I have the marketing label, the proposals label, and the sales label. And they're already colored different colors, which is you should definitely do if you are using labels. Now, the way to look at labels inside Gmail is basically like you are labeling each one of your emails that are coming in to categorize them and put them in one specific space so you can view them all at the same time. So all of my marketing emails that are coming in, I'm going to want to label them under marketing in that purple color so that when I click on the marketing label, you can view all of those specific emails that I have labeled.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Can you intelligently separate those labels and have them assigned automatically? In other words, if you know all of your marketing emails are going to come from a specific person, can you have all of those always flow into that marketing folder? Or not folder, I'm sorry, I'm using the Microsoft term, the
Labels.
label.
Wonderful question. And I know you're asking this because you can do this in Outlook, but no, you cannot do this in Gmail. You have to manually do this. And an easy way to help you do this is if you go to your main inbox and you click on this show search options icon in the very top of your screen. When you click on that, you can choose to filter your emails in very specific ways. But let's say I wanted to take all of the YouTube emails that I get. So I'm going to search from YouTube, click the search button, and here are all of my YouTube emails. I can then click on all of these. So I'm selecting them all, and I am going to move them all to the marketing label. Okay. So here I go. And now, as you can see, when I do that, it is going to add on each one of these. Let me uncheck them so you can see it better. It's going to add this marketing label to each one of these emails. Okay. And it's in that purple color that we made the label. So when you X out of this search, so I was removing that search, refresh. So once I moved all of those YouTube emails into the marketing label, I can go back to the inbox, which YouTube is under social. So I'll go over to that category and you can see that all of these YouTube emails are labeled marketing. So you know that
Yeah,
they're
and
inside the marketing folder.
That's where those different categories that you have sometimes can kind of come back. So you have to be really careful with how you flow between them. And if you're coming
Yes,
from Microsoft and you're not used to that, it could really throw you for a loop. So just know
exactly.
that those tabs are right there with those different respective categories, and they can kind of hide some stuff that perhaps you're looking for. So
Hmm.
just know that, be aware of
Right.
that.
Right. And it, again, if you go to the settings option, um, you can remove, and when you customize, you can remove the categories here. So if I wanted to get rid of those, I could just take those away and click save, and then
Oh, okay.
it would get rid of them.
So that can. I mean,
Or
I think if you understand the rules of engagement there, it could be really nice. But if you don't, boy, that could really get you.
right. Okay, so let me talk about real quick how to create a label. You would go to the very bottom of this panel and you would click create a new label. When you do that, you can enter a name and you can even nest this label under another one. So I did this with my testing YouTube label. These are what you call sub labels. So they will be hidden underneath a a label itself. So this testing YouTube sub label is under the label marketing. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, if you'd like to change these colors to a certain color that fits your liking, you can click on the three dots and change the label color right here. You can add a custom color. You can change the label list or the message list, and you can also remove the label in its entirety or add a sub label right here. So
That's
just
cool.
like how I was explaining that testing YouTube's folder, you can add it right here
So
as well.
so the in message list, if you say hide, it's not going to hide the whole email. It's just going to hide the that marketing tag that you have, but it'll still
Correct.
be there.
So
Yeah,
here
yeah,
it
look
is
at that.
gone from that email. But then when I go back and click show, here it is showing the tag.
Oh,
So
I like that.
it's just an option that you can do. It can also, it'll show the label list if it's unread. So if you don't have anything new in the marketing folder that you haven't read, it will hide it. But if you have some emails in there that you need to read still, it will show you the marketing label. So that's another option that you can do. But all in all, an easy way to label emails that I've found is you just find the email that you'd like to label, click it, drag to the label that you would like to. So let's say this one goes under proposals, and then it would do that.
Now, Kaylee, I tend to be drag challenged. Can you show me how you could maybe assign it to that specific label without having to drag? I'm sure there's got to be a way to do that.
Drag challenge. I love that. Yes. Okay. So you would click on the email itself, and then you would go up here to the labels icon. Okay. You would click on that label, and then you would choose which label you would like to put it under. You could even create a new one right here for that specific email.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, here is something.
I like how it has the marketing slash, so you kind of know the hierarchy of it. That's good.
Right. It's under marketing, but it's the test YouTube sub label. Yeah. But something to note here, when you click on this label, this is so weird. And I really don't like this about Gmail, but under here, you can see where the categories are, and you can add it to a specific category under the labels icon. Why did
Hmm.
they put it here? I'm not sure, but you can also you can put it in a specific category here as well. So, and something to note is here you can put it in multiple places.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So you can click on multiple labels at one time. But let's say we just want to do the proposals. Okay. So this brings up a great point. The way that I did it first, so the drag and drop feature, it moves the email, as you can see here, out of the primary and into the specific label. Okay. It moved it. Different than when you click on an email itself. go to just the labels icon and select a label. Still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want it to get out of there and just sit and nest only inside that label. So it kind of, the label becomes a folder. I don't know. I guess you could say that. You would move it. So you can either do the drag and drop feature, or you would click on it and click this icon instead, move to. Notice how that looks like a folder there? I'm just saying, that's really interesting. Move to, and then you would click on the label that you would like it to be moved to.
So if you do that, it disappears out of the primary?
There it goes. It's gone.
Are you sure about that?
Sure about that.
What? Where's the...
It,
so the one that you put in proposals? Go back.
So look, here it is in proposals.
Oh.
And it's not in inbox.
You sure about that?
Watch it. So let me go to this Google Ads one here. Okay. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click move to, instead of clicking the labels icon, move to sales. Oh, it's gone. There it goes. Then I click on sales. Here it is, right here under it.
Interesting.
What does that mean? Let me explain as much as I know.
Explain.
Let me explain it to you. So here's what I believe. I believe that the labels can become folders. Super weird. Why did they do that? Not sure. So you can either choose to move something just to the marketing folder, or you can choose to just label it and call it a marketing email, and it will also nest under that label. Do you see how that is?
Yeah. So it really is kind of like a folder.
So moral of the story is you can either move it to the marketing label as a folder itself, or you can just put it as a labeled email. So it still stays in the primary folder. And I still, again, pointing this out, when you're going to click the move to icon, it looks like a folder instead of a label.
Right.
For that reason. I'm not sure why they chose to do it this way. It can be very confusing for people, but a lot of the times what I like to do is I just use the labels because it still stays all in this space as well. So you can click on here.
Well, some people like their stuff to be like super clean. Like some people cannot handle a lot of mail in their inbox.
Great point.
That drives them crazy. So they want to move them into the appropriate labels, and doing that is going to have a pretty clean inbox.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very true. But again, none of it is an automated rule like you can do in Outlook.
Gotcha.
So let's see your folders based on Outlook's folder preferences, I guess, instead of labels.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm looking at the inbox, and I have what are called folders, and see they have the icon for folders down here. And so folders are really just that. These are the ways that in Microsoft that you used to organizing. So if you're someone who's coming from Microsoft going to G Suite or Google, it's going to confuse you because you're like, where are my folders? Well, your folders are labels, like what Kaleigh's saying. So if you want that functionality, you're going to have to do that. Now, something that I'm not sure, and Kaleigh, you'd have to answer that question, is can you nest underneath multiple nesting? Like I could right click under this one and I could create another subfolder. Can you create more subfolders underneath?
Yes, you can create and just continuously create subfolders.
Subfolders of subfolders. Okay, interesting. All right, we just wanted to be sure. So now, so you do have these subfolders, and like if I wanted to move something like this test one, and I wanted to move it into this forecasting folder, I would just drag it like Kaleigh showed before, and look, it's there. And what it does is just like in the move option. I'm going to move this back real quick. So just like in Kaleigh's demonstration that she did, it moves it out of our focused inbox. It's,
Yeah.
it disappears. So, and I can kind of do that too. If I check this box here, look at that. The icons look very similar. I wonder if that's by accident. Probably not.
Probably not.
So if I check the forecasting, it's going to move it completely out of the inbox.
Mm-hmm.
So that behavior is very similar from a label move perspective, like you have in G Suite.
Right.
But look here, we do have categories. So
but these look like labels.
They look like labels, right? Yeah. So now in G Suite, they call these sections here categories. And there's really only two that I'm aware of that you can do in your webmail, and that's the focused and other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that Microsoft probably at some point will start adding some more of these categories here using the G Suite or Gmail term.
Mm-hmm.
But now you do have categories here. And how do you do that? So look at how I've assigned two categories, and they do the very similar thing that labels do.
Mm-hmm.
So really just remove the word category and just call it label. So labels from the appearance perspective from G Suite to Gmail to Microsoft's Webmail are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I can come under here and I can create new categories. I can even hit manage the categories. By default, you have, I think, like 5 or 6 based on color.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just come in here and you can say manage the category. You can click on it and then change the name and pick a different color if you want.
Yeah.
So I could call this, prospecting, and change it to blue.
Mm-hmm.
Hit save. So I have proposals and prospectings. And so if I want to say, I think this is a prospecting email, and I hit that, look,
there it goes.
I unwisely picked the same color. So I'm like, I don't want that. Let me go ahead and hit manage the color, and I hit let's make it green.
Mm-hmm.
So now it looks a little different.
And I think this makes so much more sense to me than it does in Gmail, because they call their folders labels and their labels. So it's interesting.
Hold on. So I think just in the defense of Gmail, it's a completely different concept. They think, I believe the way that G Suite treats email is almost, or Google Workspace, is they treat it like it's like metadata. Mm-hmm. All the email is flowing in there, and you're just creating ways to organize that same data. Mm-hmm. Whereas Microsoft kind of looked at it almost from a physical sense, that you could literally nest things in folders, because people tend to think more from a physical perspective. Yeah. So I think it's just two different approaches of how to handle the organization of your mail. Mm-hmm. Some people that are more cerebral like that, I think the Gmail perspective might be better for you. But for Microsoft, if you're like folders and organization, that concept probably will just make a lot of sense to you and just seem more natural.
Right. Yeah, I love that example.
So now, what about, is there any type of association with a category to a folder? The answer is no. There isn't really a specific association. You can't just associate a label with a category or a label with a specific folder. You don't. Mm-hmm. They're really treated as two different entities. It's just a different way of organizing the messages that you have in here. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, though, if I come in here and I say I want to do everything from Kaleigh, and I do the search here, I can come in here and I can pick, all of these, and I can do the quick labeling like you did before, and that's all fine. But I can also move them into the respective folders, just like we did. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of that same commonality that you're talking about. But there is one little feature, and the reason why I asked the question I did to you, Kaleigh, about whether or not you could do auto assigning of labels and such like that. And you can do that on Microsoft.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you could come under here, and if you go to view all Outlook settings, you can create a rule by coming under here. Like if you come under here, and then they have these rule sections, and you can create a new rule here. And I can say, hey, I'm going to call this sales. And if I spelled it the right way. And then I can do add conditions. So I could say anyone from Kaleigh, for example. Mm-hmm. So I can pick her. Mm-hmm. And then I could say add, an action. Well, guess what? I can say I want to assign a category. What category do I want to do? Mm-hmm. Sales. And then I can say stop that rule, and I can hit save. So any email immediately from her would get the sales category assigned to it.
Love that.
maybe that's helpful, maybe that's not. But then I could also add another action on there that I could move that mail to a specific folder. So you could do that to kind of help move things more from a category and a folder perspective if that's something that's really important to you. It starts becoming like some people just get very particular about their email and how they want to keep things organized and sorted. And that's fine. It's just they provide a lot of options for you to do that. I just found it interesting that some of that seemed lacking, at least from our perspective, from Gmail. Now, maybe you guys might be able to comment below and say, hey, idiots, there's actually a way to do it here, here, and here. And I look forward to you correcting me brutally in the comments below.
Love it.
Now, one thing that's a pointer, do not create folders outside of your inbox. It's a bad idea. Don't do that. If you do that, you are a crazy person. Mainly the reason why is like certain functionalities that are from an admin perspective for those people who aren't familiar with that. Like if you're doing exporting of mail and things for users, the folders that are outside of the inbox can sometimes be a little difficult to grab, and it's not a very common thing. So just help your administrator out. Please don't put stuff outside of your inbox. Always put it nested underneath your inbox.
And that issue that would never apply to Gmail. They don't even have ways to nest those.
Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah.
I mean, they're so different, from that perspective. So, but hopefully this kind of helps people understand the different rules of engagement when it comes to the terminology. Now, something that I would want to say that is kind of nice is like in this situation, like if I want to come here and I want to change when I have this picked, what this ribbon looks like, I can come under here and I can hit customize, and then I can even move them, right? And change the order of them. I could say, I want to put junk over here last. Do you got that in Gmail? I don't know if you do. And I can uncheck and pin these. I think that's pretty cool.
It is not that fluid. No.
Okay.
It is a lot harder to do that. You'd have to do that in the advanced settings area, and it's a little bit more complicated than that. So yeah, I love how fluid that is.
Yeah, check one for Microsoft.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I will say, I am somebody who uses Outlook specifically for my work 9 to 5, but then I also have Gmail for my personal email, as well as the nonprofit that I work with sometimes on the side. So I use both. And when you're coming from having rules in Outlook to not having them in Gmail, it can be very aggravating. But for the people who have just been using Gmail, I have never heard them complain about that, not having that at all.
So are you saying they don't have, I can't believe that they don't have rules.
Now, if they do, it's some sort of add-on thing that you have to, I have, now people might shoot me through the screen and possibly I'm wrong, but I have not seen a way that you can do that. There are many amazing features that they have in Gmail that I really do like, but that is one thing that I have never found. So.
Okay. Well, I think this goes to show that if you're coming from Microsoft and you're used to a lot of these functions and features and how they do things, and then you go to Gmail, it could be kind of frustrating. So hopefully this video might guide some people and help them kind of understand like, oh, here's how I can try to accomplish this. And I might get the same possible features and functionality trying this different method.
Right. Totally.
All right, Kaleigh, let's be very transparent, right? We were planning on adding a lot more content this video, but as soon as we hit the categories and folders, we thought there wasn't going to be very much difference. But I think the main reason why is because I'm so heavy into the Outlook webmail and you have a lot more experience with the Gmail. We didn't realize how much difference in terminology, and we just kind of said, you know what, let's just focus on that.
Absolutely. I was honestly overwhelmed because when we really were diving into Gmail, the realization of how different not only the lingo was, but also the characteristics, like how you were saying, of them was so different in a completely different world. And I guess I didn't ever put them both next to each other to really see that before. until we did today. So I hope that many of you guys were getting that same realization that I did, because I think that's truly needed to see which one you would gravitate towards and your mind, meshes well with. And that's just, that was bizarre to me, really.
Right. And I think this video is kind of perfect for someone that's transitioning from one word to the other, and they're very organized in how they like to keep things inside their webmail.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're going from one to the other, it could be pretty frustrating trying to understand the differences between the two. So hopefully this video can give you a little bit more guidance and, kind of like I said, a Rosetta Stone to translate between the two, so that as you're trying to do that, you can be more efficient quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you have any comments or comparisons that you want us to cover between Gmail and Outlook, let us know in the comments below. And also, if you haven't subscribed already, why haven't you? Click that subscribe button right now, literally right
Yes.
now. And we hope to see you guys again, and we will talk to you soon in the next video. Bye.